In the dimly lit corridors of video game history, few titles managed to carve a niche as distinct and unforgiving as Darkest Dungeon. Developed by Red Hook Studios and released in January 2016 after a year in early access and working closely with the community and subsequently through multiple free DLC, it's available on all consoles and PC. This indie gem quickly garnered attention for its unique blend of turn-based combat, roguelike elements, Lovecraftian horror, and did I mention it's unforgiving? As players embark on treacherous expeditions with their party of four through the eponymous dungeon, they face not only grotesque monstrosities, but also the psychological toll of stress and madness, which we will examine closely in the gameplay section. Darkest Dungeon stands as a testament to the resilience of indie game developers, leaving its everlasting mark on its fans. At its core, Darkest Dungeon is a game of calculated risk and strategic decision making. Players assemble a roster of adventurers, each with their own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, before sending them into the foreboding depths of the game's multiple dungeons. The turn-based combat system requires careful consideration of positioning, skill usage, and resource management. Every action carries weight, as a wrong move can lead to dire consequences, including death or insanity. At its heart, Darkest Dungeon is a story of desperation and decay. The narrative is driven by the tragic fall of the once prosperous hamlet, now overrun by malevolent forces from beyond. We trace the pursuits of our ancestor through his lifetime of debauchery as he unearthed the unspeakable horrors below his mansion. With a final letter to his descendant, the player, he beseeches us to come to the estate and to remove the source of corruption and to reclaim it. As the players delve deeper into the darkness, they uncover the secrets of the estate and confront the horrors that lurk within. While the story is somewhat minimalist, it is conveyed through atmospheric narration, through cryptic journal entries, and on some loading screens. The narration immerses the player further with the vital role of Wayne June. His voice fits this game perfectly, and we are all grateful for his incredible work here with how he captures atmosphere with his foreboding commentary and responses to the actions of the player throughout. This minimalist approach allows players to piece together the narrative themselves, adding to the sense of mystery and discovery as the narrator, who is the ancestor, former owner of the estate, accompanies us adventurers. Darkest Dungeon is a challenging turn-based RPG that tasks players with managing a roster of heroes as they explore treacherous dungeons and face off against Lovecraftian horrors. Gameplay is unforgiving, with each decision carrying weighty consequences. From managing the sanity of your adventurers to balancing limited resources, every choice matters. As players navigate the depths of the estate's dungeons, they are confronted not only by grotesque monsters, but also by their own mortality and frailty of the human psyche. In the darkness of Darkest Dungeon, they find not just a game, but an experience that lingers long after the final torch has been extinguished. In saying that, one of the game's defining features is a stress mechanic, which simulates the psychological toll of adventuring in such dire circumstances. As heroes face horrors and setbacks, their stress levels rise, manifesting to a variety of afflictions that can hinder their performance or even cause them to break under the pressure and get a heart attack. There is also a small chance they will become virtuous, with accumulative stress becoming a paragon of virtue and boosting the team. This adds an extra layer of strategy, as players must carefully consider the mental well-being of their party alongside their physical health. Balancing healing and stress healing and ensuring enough damage is thrown at the enemies creates a layer of complexity and tension rarely seen in the genre. Moreover, when a hero dies, the permadeath feature means that losing a cherished hero is not just a setback, but a poignant reminder of the dungeon's merciless nature. You will grow an attachment to your heroes, especially after spending many hours guiding them like the puppet master you are. However, you rarely feel like you control the strings, with the almost unfair nature of the game can throw at you and rise up against it, despite all odds. A hero does not automatically die when they reach 0 HP, instead they will reach death's door. This can also occur at excessive stress, causing a heart attack. At death's door, a status effect where you will gain an ever-increasing chance that the next attack will be fatal, thus losing them forever. If the hero has a heart attack while at death's door, they instantly die. In between expeditions, players must manage not only each individual in their roster, but also the hamlet, the main hub of the estate. Upgrading facilities with limited resources forces you to choose which small upgrade is the most valuable in your situation right now, and which hero can you afford to help or treat. A focus on better skills perhaps at the guild or survivalist, removing stress at the abbey through prayer, meditation or penance, or your chances at the tavern to relieve stress through inebriation, the brothel, or throwing it all away on the roll of a dice. Or maybe you should focus on curing ailments and diseases at the sanatorium, or upgrading equipment at the blacksmith. You won't be able to do it all at the same time, particularly in the beginning when funds are few and far between, or eventually trying to save up to upgrade the various districts for permanent buffs. Maybe you can consider recruiting new adventurers at the stagecoach every week to balance your roster and challenge you to think ahead of where these can then shine in upcoming expeditions. This meta game loop adds depth and longevity to the experience, as players strive to improve their chances of survival with each subsequent delve into the depths to bring back heirlooms to then upgrade their structures, and ultimately spend gold to upgrade each individual hero and equip them with items to further increase their chances of success. And on top of all of this, each week begins with the town crier calling out a town event which can positively or negatively influence your next decisions. So let's dive into the combat of the Darkest Dungeon. Firstly, it is tactical and punishing. Positioning and party composition are crucial, as understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both your heroes and your enemies. The game encourages experimentation and adaptation, as players must constantly adjust their strategies to overcome the ever-increasing challenges they face. When it comes to hero skills, they can be used depending on the position of the hero in the party. The hero can freely be moved around outside of combat, but costs a turn for the character within combat. Furthermore, enemies can surprise you or force you to change positions or even some of your own abilities, so there can be a dance element to juggle. I'm looking at you, Jester and Shieldbreaker in particular. Combat flows in turns, based on the speed of each participant, and a round ends when all have used their turn. Any damage over time effect, or dot, will tick to do their damage at the beginning of a turn, and dot abilities such as bleed and blight in this game can be critical to most of your success, and I advise forming parties around these to stack them as high as possible where possible, based on the strengths and weaknesses of each dungeon. For example, bleed is not great in the ruins, as there are many undead like skeletons, and skeletons cannot bleed. However, it is great against beasts in the warrens or the weald. Conversely, blight is not great in the weald due to high resistances of its inhabitants, but in the cove it spreads like the plague. Expression intended. Each expedition is divided into one of three particular lengths: short, medium and long. Short are the least risky with a handful of rooms, but also less rewarding. Medium requires more resources due to a larger dungeon layout, but more potential branching paths, and grants you firewood to make a camp once during the run, and to use camping skills to help your party rest and recuperate with buffs, but also can lead to a night ambush, or high stress if you don't have enough supplies. Boss missions are always on medium. Long can be tedious, and you are given 2 firewood to make up for the length, but also takes up 2 inventory spaces. And yes, inventory management will be a bigger concern here, and you will be making plenty of careful considerations when it comes to not only your inventory, but also the careful considerations with camping, stress controls, and item usage, and these boast some of the best rewards. On top of this, there is also one of 3 difficulty levels which can determine the level or resolve of the characters that can or should enter it. It will also determine how strong monsters will be and what variety of monsters are present. There will also be greater rewards, both within the mission and completion, such as more money, heirlooms and trinkets. So let's quickly break these down. In Apprentice, the creatures are weaker and smaller and designed for level 0 to level 2 heroes. In Veteran, the challenge is upped and more caution will be needed as a broader variety of abominations are introduced, which include stronger, more health, harder to control, and probably more status effects, typically for level 3 and 4 heroes. And finally, there is Champion for level 5 and level 6 heroes. The most dangerous atrocities roam here, sometimes found in Veteran 2 and pose the highest threat. Objectives are how you win each expedition and typically stick to a formula of requiring you to cleanse every creature in the dungeon, explore 90% of the dungeon, gather a quest item, activate something, or kill a boss. And bosses, as you can imagine, demand you undertake serious preparations, and in the event that you do kill one, it will be replaced by their next version, which is of a higher difficulty. But to unlock a boss mission for that particular dungeon, you will need to be victorious in enough expeditions beforehand. Bosses unlock faster the longer length of the expeditions, and you don't need to kill all the bosses to reach the end of the game. You only need to power up your team so they are good enough to enter the darkest dungeon. However, killing the hardest version of each boss nets you some of the most powerful trinkets, therefore, as you may have guessed it, will increase your odds of succeeding in the darkest dungeon. The ultimate test at the end, where you will make some startling revelations, if you can brave the long and arduous journey to get there. When you are entering any of these missions, you will be presented to the Provisioner, where you will be able to buy supplies for the trek ahead, such as bandages to cure bleeds, or shovels to remove obstacles, supplies for food rations, or even torches to keep the light ahead. While navigating the darkest depths, you will constantly lose your torchlight, represented in the upper middle of the screen. At high levels, you suffer less stress and have various benefits, granting a certain degree of safety, but trust me, it's a false sense of security. As the light gradually dims, you can raise it with a torch item or through certain abilities or curios. Curios are interactable objects which grant boons, items, or bad events, all projected by chance. As the torch outens, the screen darkens, increasing the incoming stress, chances of being surprised, which changes party positioning and grant buffs to the enemy. Although riskier to play in, you can also score more critical chances and loot. You can also play in the pitch blackness, where you may even be ambushed by an infinite malignity of the stars, aka an abhorrent eldritch shambler. Also, during expeditions, you will encounter random hunger checks where each party member will require supplies. If you can't satiate your hungry party, they will take high stress and damage to their health. Finally, and briefly, although their time with you will hopefully not be brief, chances are it will be, until you get used to the game, and even then, still so. There are 16 classes, from the iconic Crusader to the Highwayman to the Houndmaster to the Grave Robber, that you will recruit throughout your time at the estate. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses, their own specialties and abilities, and fill different roles in combat. They have unique reactions to many situations, and generally the only thing that divides different heroes of the same class is what they have learned at the hamlet through upgrades and quirks obtained during their time before and with you. Knowing what each class excels at or falters at will prove to be a huge factor in your chance at conquering the Darkest Dungeon. Visually, Darkest Dungeon is a masterpiece of macabre artistry. The game's striking hand-drawn art style is both gorgeous and grotesque, making it the cornerstone crafted before us. It perfectly captures the atmosphere of dread and despair that permeates from the estate. From the eerie corridors of the dungeons to the eldritch horrors that lurk within, every aspect of aesthetic design contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Every stroke from the artist's pen draws the player deeper into the depths, with a muted colour palette dominated by earthy tones and deep shadows. I think the creativity here is a triumph in craftsmanship. The environments are varied, from the claustrophobic confines of the ruins to the fetid swamps of the Weald. I would argue that the most memorable aspect of the art design is not the environments or our heroes, but the bestiary. hand-drawn from the darkest reaches of the human imagination, drawn upon the Lovecraftian-inspired horror, particularly the bosses. I may gush over the art, particularly the creatures, however that is not the only thing which elevates this game. The sound design further enhances the immersiveness, bringing the world alive, punctuated by a palpable palette of atmospheric sounds, from the ominous whispers that echo through the halls to the bone-chilling screams of the fallen, to the footsteps each party member makes, to every sound of each skill employed. Every sound serves to heighten the tension and lure players deeper into the dark. Each dungeon has its own distinctive sound, and not just from each enemy unit, but each dungeon becomes more nerve-wracking the more your torch dissipates, until you are left in the dark and things only get worse from there. Take the Weald for example, where the skittering of the beasts begin to howl ever the louder the closer the torch outens, or the deafening squeals in the warrens taunting you as your heart pounds ever more unsettlingly as the pig-like creatures carve you a new one. Near the start of my review, I mentioned the narrator Wayne June. June adds layers flawlessly to the tension, and he is complemented beautifully by each distinct sound from every part of each dungeon, as if in chorus they sing out for your harrowing demise. The unison of art and sound elevate to a cacophony, meticulously evoking that sense of lingering dread. One of the greatest strengths of Darkest Dungeon is, in fact, its replayability, and I've played this for around 200 hours, netting my Platinum Trophy along the way on PlayStation. Although there is only one set ending, provided you make it that far, no two playthroughs are ever the same. This is because with procedurally generated dungeons, negative and positive quirks on your heroes, and a wide variety of heroes to choose from, amongst much more. Each expedition presents new challenges and opportunities, keeping gameplay feeling fresh and engaging over multiple playthroughs, not to mind various game modes, DLCs and customizable options in your playthrough. If you're going for all the trophies, you will need to finish the hardest game mode. This ultimate challenge includes deleting your save file if you fail to meet the conditions of the challenge. In conclusion, Darkest Dungeon is a masterfully crafted game that excels in both gameplay and atmosphere. It boasts and combines challenging mechanics and a haunting aesthetic to create an experience that is as rewarding as it is punishing. Since its release, it has garnered a dedicated fan base and critical acclaim, and is easily a modern classic in the indie gaming scene. The euphoric feeling of accomplishment when you narrowly scrape through a dungeon, or how bipolar the game can make you feel when a single encounter threw a curveball your way, from unlucky crits on your heroes, the high level of character stress, or even an unfortunate chance to encounter in a hallway with a mini-boss at the worst possible time. With its deep strategic gameplay, the hand-drawn macabre art, meticulous attention to sound design, the narrator himself, and endless replayability, Darkest Dungeon is a must-play for fans of dark fantasy and challenging RPGs alike. So gather your courage, light your torches, and prepare to face the horrors that await in the depths of the Darkest Dungeon. I give Darkest Dungeon one fast fluctuating torchlight upon a shambler's altar out of 10. No sane person should play this ever. But if you like tentacles, it's amazing.